News has come out today that the Habs are continuing to discuss a Joel Edmundson trade to the Edmonton Oilers. We'll be talking about the possibility of that happening, plus an amazing quote as coach Martin St. Louis speaks out on the Gurianov trade, and finally, we'll be discussing what the Tanner Jeannot trade to Tampa Bay means for the Montreal Canadiens, so you won't want to miss this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. Before we get into the video, as always, guys, quick reminder to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Mainly subscribe. We're on the road to 5,000. We're almost at 4,200. You guys have been hitting that button like crazy. We hope it continues today. Topic number one today, Jesse, is this Joel Edmundson news. Now, we've seen a lot of rumors about Joel Edmundson being moved in the past, including to the Oilers, also the LA Kings. There have been a lot of rumors floating around there, but the one thing that we know is that they're still circulating. Darren Dreger, after talking about, he's interested to see how big or small Nashville's next trade may be, mentioning that they are shopping Mattias Ekholm to the Oilers, but he says, and among other options, I'm told the Oilers and Canadiens continue to discuss a trade involving Joel Edmundson. Joel Edmundson is, like we've said so many times, a playoff performer. He is a guy who's physical. He fits that playoff style of hockey, and a team like Edmonton could really use him. Jesse, if Edmundson were to go to Edmonton, do you have any idea what maybe Montreal would want back, or what the actual value of Edmundson is? A guy who really hasn't played much lately.
Well, we're really hoping, if we can get back a first round, I think collectively as Habs fans, we'd be really happy with that. And I know that Jesse Puljujarvi has been kind of thrown around a little bit. On top of that, they might want to kind of match some salaries a little bit, because the thing about the Oilers is they are cash strapped.
Yeah.
But I think that this is a deal that they should make. I think that this is really like a win-win. Like I'm a fan of all Canadian teams. Well, maybe not the Leafs sometimes, but pretty much all Canadian.
Fair enough, yeah.
Come playoff time, I want to see them do well. And I think that Edmundson would be a great addition to the team. Like, they're in a position, come on, they're not going to find a goaltender at this point, which is probably their main thing they need to fix. But if they can't really address that, they need to do something with their defense. And we know that, Edmundson is a great player in the playoffs. The type of hockey changes, and I think that he would be a great fit with them.
I think so too, and the Habs and Oilers have made defense trades in the past, with Brett Kulak being shifted over to the Edmonton Oilers. I think that was just last year for the pick that ended up being Lane Hutson. So there's some rapport with both teams. Kulak is working out pretty well in Edmonton. Seems like Edmonton fans are pretty okay with him, and obviously Habs fans are quite okay with Lane Hutson. So yeah, there's definitely potential for this trade to happen. I mean, Joel Edmundson too, great news, Jesse. Today he's skating full stop in practice. He's practicing in full, him and Cayden Guhle. Now, there's no word if either of them are going to play tomorrow night in San Jose, but they're both back at practice, seemingly full strength. So Joel Edmundson is kind of the main guy for Montreal right now. And you mentioned Jesse Puljujarvi, something that Edmonton could maybe move over it, and maybe a first-round pick, who knows, or instead of Puljujarvi. Another name we've heard in the past as one of their prospects, Xavier Bourgault. I don't know how good, how much Oilers fans would be happy with that, because a lot of them seem to, at least when we mentioned that in the past, they really did not want to move Xavier Bourgault. What do you think about Xavier Bourgault? I believe he's a Quebec boy, right? You think he could be a good fit on the Habs in the future if the Oilers were willing to part with him?
He would, but I really doubt it, that they would let go of him.
Yeah.
And as far as taking Puljujarvi, it's, I know it's only for kind of a year left and everything like that. I'm just a little bit cautious taking on too many reclamation, projects. We might need some spots, though. If we really decide to clear house, though, at this trade deadline, we just might have to, right? And then it's not really a huge risk. You give him some runway to see what he can do. And, that's it. See if you want to re-sign him at the end of the year from there.
That'd be, if the Habs traded Edmundson for Puljujarvi and something else, or whatever that ended up being. Let's just say the Habs get Puljujarvi. Can you imagine, Slafkovsky, Dach, Puljujarvi, Denis Gurianov, and I'm probably Josh Anderson. That might be the biggest forward core in the NHL. So that would be an interesting thing to see. But yeah, like you said, not sure about that. But keep an eye on Joel Edmundson to the Edmonton Oilers, because Edmonton to Edmonton, keep that trending, because that just might happen. Topic 2. We got Martin St. Louis speaks out on the Denis Gurianov trade. Of course, Marty St. Louis is going to get asked about this trade. He's got a new player coming into the system. The reporters, everyone wants to know, hey, what are your plans for this guy? We know this and this and this about him. But look at this calm response from Marty St. Louis. Honestly, I've had people try to contact me to tell me about the young player they know, speaking about Gurianov, but that's something I'll get into in 2 to 3 weeks. I don't want to be influenced. I want to form my own opinion. I don't want to be influenced by what someone might tell me before I get to see him. I feel like not everybody sees it the same way, so I don't want to get tainted just because that's some person's opinion. I want to see him in practice. I want to see him in games. I want to make my own first impression versus being influenced by somebody with what I should be expecting, because I don't think everybody sees it the same way. You're coaching a hockey player. You're coaching a person. So if I can get an edge there, I will, but in due time. I mean, the tweet that included this quote was from Eric Engels saying, imagine you're Denis Gurianov. You get traded to a new team. Things haven't been working in your past team. You need to get a fresh start. And that is the quote you see. Like, do you think he could have said anything better? Like, I don't think there's a better quote that you can read if you're Denis Gurianov about to come to the Montreal Canadiens.
That's true. And it just shows what a people person that Martin St. Louis is. You know, it's so nice sometimes when, you know, you can make your own mind up on something and really just give him that chance that he needs. So I think that this is just a great fit. You know that Denis, you know, when he's hearing that, he has to be happy, you know, because I think it's important to sometimes, you know, give people the opportunity to kind of give themselves a fresh start and see what they can do of their own accord.
Yeah, I think some people made a good point in that, like, a lot of the times, based on your, I guess, interpretation of what a player is or what he's done in his career, sort of what you hear from other people, you try and get that player to play in that same style. I mean, it happens across all sports. How many times have you seen a guy who played one role on one team and then every other coach in the future pigeonholes them into that specific role because that's what they get a reputation as? Denis Gurianov has sort of a reputation as being a left-handed, hard-shot, one-timer guy, but that hasn't really worked with the Dallas Stars. He's quick too, he's fast, he's a big body and has a great shot, but it seems like St. Louis is not going to force him into that kind of role. He's going to just let it be. Let him see what Denis Gurianov can create on the ice. I mean, ultimately, Jesse, do you think he could end up, like, with the freedom of Marty St. Louis, how much do you think that's going to impact Gurianov in just being able to play with more confidence, something that I feel like he lacked a little bit in Dallas?
Yeah, as I mentioned in the trade video, is I feel that he's going to be put into a position to succeed here in Montreal. And then we see a quote like that, and that just completely just reaffirms it. Like, I think that St. Louis is going to see this guy in practice. He's going to see that he has a lot of speed, that he's got a great shot, and the thought's going to come to his head, hey, maybe I should try this guy with Suzuki a little bit on that first line, you know? And, you know, who's the casualty of that? Maybe Anderson, maybe Harvey Pinard. I don't know. It's hard to take Harvey Pinard out of that role, but I think you need to try them a little bit together to see. But just as a fan, I'm super interested just to see how he plays out for the rest of this year, because I think he can do something.
Yeah, low risk, high reward. I'm just going to be like, if he doesn't do much till the end of the season, hey, we would have lost Dadonov for nothing anyway. So if he manages to do anything great for Montreal, I'll be stoked. So it's just going to be super fun to see, hey, let's watch how Gurianov plays tonight. And yeah, that'll be great during the rest of the season. Final topic today. Of course, Jesse, the big trade yesterday. Well, there were multiple, but Tanner Jeannot being traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning was a shocker of a trade. As we're going to see here in a second in the screenshot, teams were like utterly just so surprised by the return that Tanner Jeannot got. Tanner Jeannot is a bottom six forward for the Nashville Predators, big physical guy. Of course, he had a 20-goal year last year, but this year's really not been putting it together. He's still young, but man, this trade was huge. The Bolts, the Lightning, of course, received Tanner Jeannot, and the Predators get Cal Foote, young player from the Lightning, 2025 first, top 10 protected, 2024 second, 2023 third, 2023 fourth, and a 2023 fifth. Basically, a full draft's worth of draft picks and Cal Foote for Tanner Jeannot. And Sarah Valley says multiple NHL GMs are stunned by the return, like jaws on the floor. So I was surprised when I saw this return. Of course, Tanner Jeannot, $800K salary and is an RFA, so he fits in now. Cheap player to fit on the Tampa roster for a playoff push, and they have multiple years of control. However, when a bottom six player goes for that kind of price tag, you have to wonder, what kind of price tag could some of Montreal's pieces, like maybe Hoffman, Drouin, Armia, someone like that, end up going for if Jeannot got that much?
Well, this is great news for the Montreal Canadiens, who are looking to be sellers at this deadline.
Yeah.
And at first, it wasn't looking good. You know, it was looking like, you know, the market value was a little bit low, but this really seems to have changed things. And once again, it's showing the value, though, for a player in Jeannot who can be good in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see a high value for players such as Edmundson, and coming back, that first round pick now definitely doesn't seem too unreasonable. You know, they're going to be put a premium on. Whereas, you know, asking what a return is going to be for possible players like Hoffman and Drouin, who essentially in a lot of ways have a lot of the same MO. Their value is going to go down considerably because we know that, they're not always, been the playoff performers.
That's true, especially Hoffman, of course. And yeah, I think it's very interesting. Now, again, I understand that the Habs' bottom six guys don't really hold a candle to Jeannot in the sense that guy has just scored 20 goals last year. And again, RFA, so multiple years of control, so you have to pay a premium for that. But at the same time, with that sheer amount of draft picks, you got to think that some of these Habs players, like if a playoff team wants a player, like Tampa wanted Tanner Jeannot, and clearly they were willing to pay whatever they needed to make it happen. Like, Jesse, I got a feeling that if a team comes across Montreal and, even though Sean Monahan, for example, is injured, if they said, hey, like, we really want him, or a team says, hey, we really want Josh Anderson, we think he could fit our team for the future, for playoff pushes, we really want him. Not that far off from this kind of trade, right? You think they'd just go after what they want and they'd be willing to pay up a little bit just to get that guy, no?
That's a great point. And that might be what takes, Josh Anderson out of town, because we weren't going to take a small return from him. But now we're seeing the market value and teams might kind of add to that at this trade deadline. I think there's a very high probability that either Anderson or Edmundson gets traded. I think actually Edmundson for sure is going to get traded,
Same.
Before this trade deadline. Great player all the same. I really loved him in our run to the Stanley Cup Finals, but just not really suiting the direction that we want to go under Kent Hughes. The kind of transition game that we do want to play. That being said, I think he'll be great on a contender, which is, why we'll probably see a move with him pretty soon.
Yep, I think so too. I think you're bang on with your assessment. I'm really excited to see what's coming in the coming days and as we lead up to the trade deadline in early March. So we'll be keeping you guys up to date on all Habs trade news. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a comment, like, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 5,000. We know you guys can help us out with that. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.